Good morning, everybody. It's Kula from RawStocks. We have another edition of our pre-market prep, and today we're showing a little bit of weakness in the index. So we're going to break it down. We're going to look at all the levels, the Tesla sale, everything. We're going to break it all down. Stick with us. We'll get into it right after this. Special shout out to our sponsors, Black Box Stocks and GammaEdge. Without those guys, we would not be able to provide this to you every single day. So quick shout out to them. All right. So what are we looking at here, y'all? Well, we're looking at a potential pullback. Okay. We showed our first signs of breaking this distribution to the upside here. We kind of consolidated. We talked about this. In between this 6,800, 6,700 level, where we thought we might have a little bit of a consolidation before making that push up towards 6,800. We might get a little bit of a pullback before then. All right. Yesterday, we saw the close under the daily 4. You know, we love our daily 4 here. It's the first signs of true weakness after consolidating. And then today we see a print that is kind of interesting. Okay. So we're going to look at that. Let me pull this up real quick. First and foremost, let me just go ahead and go over this real quick. Today we have the FOMC meeting minutes at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time. Next, let's pull this over. So we're going to go to full complex here. We still remain call dominated. Okay. I want to be very clear here that the market still remains bullish as the overall. But as of right now, we are showing a little bit of signs of some weakness, okay? Maybe some very short-term weakness, maybe a week. Generally, you know, when we look at seasonality, it's the second part of October here that is generally no good. So it is interesting that we're catching it this early, but, you know, who knows, right? So as we look, 6,800 still remains to the upside. 6,680 is to the downside. All right, starting to see a little bit of these start to grow. Right, our 6,600 strike, our 6,500 strike, 6,600 and 6,500 strikes are kind of lighting up. You know, I talked about watching this 6,000 delta. This is only grown. Okay, so this means that people are just absolutely piling on here, looking to protect that level. But as we see it now, 6,800 still remains the largest target on here for us. And there's plenty of delta, positive net delta here that would indicate that people are going to still be looking for buying the dip here. Now, when we look into today, we can see some overhead pressure, number one. Not a ton, but some overhead pressure. Specifically into that 6740 area, we have a decent amount of negative pressure here. So this means to me that, and we lean put dominated on our gamma conditions. Okay. So this leans a little bit bearish, targeting that 6680 zone. Could they run this up to 6740 and then drop it back down? Absolutely. Okay. Or could we run it to 6680 and then run it up? Sure. That's kind of what that means. These are our time. These are our areas of containment, right? Between 6740 and 6680, there are two. There's probably some level of condor here between these two levels. However, I want to look at this. So 6650 kind of is right where our daily 20 is right now. That kind of coincides with what we're kind of seeing with the larger complex here, where 6650 is starting to become a larger node for us to watch. Okay, so keep an eye on that daily 20 as we start to get in this range, if this wants to be some level of pullback towards that daily 20. Taking a look at the intraday chart today, we do see that hold on, let me lock this out. We do see that 6740 is our bearish, well, negative pressure here, or into this, excuse me, negative pressure into the 6740. This would be our call wall here. This is what a lot of people refer to as like a bear flag, right? We don't really, we focus on that, but we don't we confirm it with data, and that data would indicate a potential pull towards 6680. So this would be valid in the case of some level if we break through 6700 for a continuation down towards 6680 and even towards that 6650 zone that we talked about on the full complex here. So that would bring us down into this consolidation here, and that's about where our daily 20 is. So if we do break down towards this, especially if we break outside our negative pressure here or negative exposure here, watch for that spike down towards that level. But I think at this point you're looking to definitely buy some level swings into this zone. If you lose this, then sure, by all means, but this starts to look pretty for that long position into that 6650 zone. You can give it in below 6600 and look for the extension towards 6800 on some level of swing here. Okay, it's a pretty decent RVR. You can buy into this, right, and average down and looking to hold that 6600 level. I don't think that's a terrible idea, as maybe we swing just a few points underneath here, whatever. This starts to get a lot better of a look in regards to RVR here, especially if we surge past 6,800 and start heading up towards that 7,000 mark that we've talked about. All right. But as of today, I think 0 day may not be the option today. I think today should be 1 day expiration. If we find ourselves maybe, I don't know where we're opening right now, near that 67.25 zone. So that puts us right above yesterday's close, which is a decent thing for a push towards that, right? That's showing some level of bullishness, showing a breakout above this consolidation. So realistically, you're looking for the short up here. But if you want to build it into this zone, that's not a bad idea either. All right. The idea here is that you're looking for this thing to roll over and head towards 6680, whether that happens today or happens into tomorrow. That's to be seen, right? We don't really look at that. We look at trying to make sure that we put ourselves in the best position for a risk versus reward. And that is averaging and buying and building a position of shortness into 6740 for a potential move down to this range. A lot of times we see from these consolidations a break, a false break, and then a breakdown, and that is generally what drives a really strong push down towards this way. This would be some level of head and shoulders here, right? And trying to drive us down to this range. I do think this has a high likely of playing out with the data that we're seeing right now. If this thing does break through 6740, I do expect to see some level of squeeze towards 6800 for sure. Okay. But you got to watch. This is going to be your new supply zone into this zone here. You need to understand that as a potential sell down area, like a false break, right? So know this is a supply zone. Really get the confirm, with some longer time frames, looking like a breakout for that upside towards that. All right, covering NVIDIA here. Yesterday, this is our chart. Hey, we're good, but sometimes we're damn good. And yesterday we drew this out for the resistance back in towards this volume shelf here. Right before that 190 zone, we sold off right at that. Okay, we broke down below our positive support and we sold hard down to our negative gamma shelf, and we held that zone, and towards the end of the day we had to sell and ultimately recovered virtually near that negative gamma shelf. Now we're in this zone here, and let's pull the new data, kind of see where we're at. Okay. Let's pull this. I got a AAA coming to charge 6 to 8 minutes away. I got to speed this up. Okay, full complex still remains very much call dominated, very much targeting towards 190, 195, and 200. Into this week, it looks like a 195 cap and a 180 floor. We have a transitional zone at 187.5, which remains the same. Negative gamma shelf is at 185, that remains the same, and the floor at 180 that remains the same. So the only thing that's changed on this is the price. Everything is set up the same. I would still watch this volume band here even after this first touch, but if you see this 187 break, I mean, you have to look at this and say this is a bullish opportunity for a push towards 195. You just got to know that this is a level at 185 that really needs to be watched. If we break 185 down and we start looking really bearish here, this thing has a good opportunity to visit towards 180. Tesla, yesterday we talked about sell the news, right? And we had a couple members in some calls that virtually scalped the bottom off of this yesterday and rode this thing all the way up to 450. They asked if they should, continue to hold it for the news or not. We favored with selling it. We talked about this yesterday, and this is a buy the rumor, sell the news feeling. And that's exactly what happened. We saw it bounce right off our 450 gamma wall multiple times, and then ultimately sell down towards our positive gamma support and the gamma wall down here. So the data still remains, yesterday data was very bullish. Okay, full complex still remains a level of target towards 500. There are some covered calls being sold up in this area. However, data remains call dominated here. On the short time frame though, we get a little bit of a mixed salad here, more towards the favoring towards a 430 underneath 440. And then if we do break over 440, I would definitely expect to see this thing start to move up here. But this is a little bit of a uncertainty, so to speak, but very much scattered strikes here. Not so much an absolute target. On the full complex, you see the target is 450. Call wall still remains there. So watch bouncing between 450 and 430. Not a really great place to get long right here, but as it stands, we have that same transition here at, transitions changed. 440 positive support. We're looking at a 437 and a half gamma shelf, which is virtually right where we're at for the open, and then we have a gamma wall down at 430. 430. So as it stands, we're in negative bearish territory. Watch for it to reject off of this 440 area and pull down towards 430 for the gap fill. At that gap fill, you can expect some buyers to step up. If you do lose 430, we'll see if that wants to pile on towards that 420 level again. Right here, you can start to see that kind of popping out and see if this wants to expand and see if we sell down towards that 420 level. But as of right now, I think you're interested in buying the dip on Tesla at 430, looking for this thing to make its run back up towards 437 and a half and potentially 440 for a close close to 450 on the week. All right, guys, that's going to cover it for what we're covering today. Remember, we got 5 analysts using automated bots. This thing's all tracked. There's no fluffing it. Everything's tracked. Everything we do automatically gets sent to the Discord. That is at RawStocksLLC.com. If you want to check out our alerts, you want to check out what we do, how we do it, that's right there. RawStocksLLC.com. There is a $7 7-day trial, and there's a promo going on right now for new users with our code. I think it's Rawtober. So if you want to use a month free and you're listening to this, you're getting that access, because I'm not really putting that out there everywhere. But if you finish to the end, you deserve the 1 month free. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure you subscribe, follow, like us, share us. Till next time. Catch you later.